Equilibrium. Oh my gosh, you guys, this video is all about when supply met demand. It's going to be the cutest video of all time. By the way, we need to review demand. We're going to look at the definition, what's the law of demand, and what does the demand curve look like. Aww. Demand is the quantity of goods a consumer is willing and able to purchase at various prices. The law of demand. As prices increase, the quantity demanded is going to decrease. You see that? Price up, quantity demanded down. As prices decrease, the quantity demanded increases. So you see price goes down, quantity demanded increases. And this is because there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity when it comes to the law of demand. Demand down. All right, make sure that you label all parts. It is a downward sloping curve. So my y-axis is price, my x-axis is quantity, and my slope downward, and I label it D. See? Next, I'm going to review supply. We're going to look at the definition, the law of supply, and what does the supply curve actually look like. All right, so supply is the quantity of goods a producer is willing and able to sell at various prices. The law of supply. As prices increase, the quantity supplied will increase. As prices decrease, the quantity supplied will decrease. So what does that look like? Price goes up, quantity supplied goes up. Price goes down, quantity supplied goes down because people want to make money. Supply up. See that UP? So I'm going to draw in my curve, make sure that the P and the Q are labeled on there, and it goes up and to the right, and I label it S because the supply curve is upward sloping. Joop! Yeah, see Superman? Get it? The UP and okay. All right, price. Consumers want to minimize costs. Producers want to maximize profits. Therefore, prices are determined where supply meets demand. Aww. The point where the supply curve hits the demand curve is called equilibrium. So let's draw this graph together. We have price, we have quantity, I have my S curve going up and my demand curve going down. Market equilibrium. So we have equilibrium price, which is the price where quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. Equilibrium quantity, therefore, is the quantity supplied and demanded at the equilibrium price. But where is it? X marks the spot. Woohoo! All right, so draw in your price and quantity. Make sure you label them. Draw in your supply and demand curves and make sure you label them. So equilibrium price and quantity are determined by where supply meets demand. Aww, where is that? Right there in the middle. Woohoo! All right, so make sure that you draw in your dashed lines and you label quantity equilibrium and price equilibrium. X marks the spot, huh? See the pirate? Because the pirate? Okay. Changes in equilibrium. Shifts in the supply and demand curves cause equilibrium to change. This causes an increase or decrease in the equilibrium price or an increase and decrease in the equilibrium quantity. Next, we're going to look at the determinants of demand. Why does demand shift in the first place? We have income, taste, and preferences. So that's what your consumers are prefer. So certain type of sunglasses were cool, they're not. So taste and preferences have changed. Substitute goods. So you can substitute beef for chicken. Complementary goods. You have, let's see, like peanut butter and jelly, bagels and cream cheese. Weather, literally, what is the weather doing? Number of buyers. So a whole bunch of people move to a community. That means there's going to be more buyers. Expectations. I expect that there's going to be a sale around the time of Thanksgiving, so I'm going to hold off my purchases until that sale. All right, shifts in supply, determinants of supply. We sometimes call these things shifters. You have technology and productivity. So is there a change in technology that makes something more productive? Cost of inputs, factors of production. Has the cost of shipping radically gone down? That's a cost of input or a factor of production. The government, subsidies, remember those are money given by government to certain businesses for a specific purpose, and taxes are money given by businesses to the government. Price of related goods, so this could be Blu-ray players and DVD players, right? These are related goods. Weather and natural disaster, number of sellers, so I used to have 3 cake shops and now I have 7 cake shops. I have an increased number of sellers. This is going to shift supply. And producer expectations. So if a producer is expecting prices to fall in the future, that's going to change what supply does now. All right, so increase in demand. What does that look like? All right, so I'm drawing in price and quantity. And I draw my D1 curve. An increase in demand shifts the demand curve to the right. So I'm going to draw in my arrows and I'm going to draw in my D2 curve. Next, let's look at decrease in demand. All right, so I'm drawing in price and quantity. There's my D1. Decrease in demand shifts the demand curve to the left. Draw my arrows to the left and draw my D2 curve. What happens with an increase in supply? There it is. You see price and quantity. You see my S1 curve. Increase in supply shifts the supply curve to the right. So I draw my arrows to the right, and there's my S2 curve. Decrease in supply. So I draw in the same things. I have my price, I have my quantity. There's S1. Decrease in the supply shifts the supply curve to the left. Draw my arrows to the left, and there's my S2 curve. All right, let's look at this first practice problem, increase in demand. So I'm going to draw in price and quantity. I'm going to draw in my supply curve and my demand curve. And then I'm going to make sure that I draw in these little dash lines here for QEQ1, that's quantity equilibrium 1, and PEQ1, price equilibrium 1. And my demand line, I'm going to draw my arrows. My demand is going to shift to the right because it increased. And so now I'm going to draw in my brand new price equilibrium. And my brand new quantity equilibrium. So I'm going to label that QEQ2 and PEQ2. So demand is going to increase, and PEQ and QEQ is going to increase. Graphing practice number 2. All right, so I draw in everything, price, quantity, supply 1, and demand 1. I'm going to have a double shift this time. So I make sure that I draw in my equilibrium points, and I label them accordingly. PEQ1 and QEQ1. My demand is going to shift to the right, so I'm going to label that D2, but my supply is going to shift to the left, and I'm going to label that S2. Well, what's going to happen to my price? Well, the price equilibrium is going to shift up to this point. So I'm going to draw that, and I'm going to label that PEQ2. But something really crazy is going to happen with my quantity. Oh my gosh, my quantity has not moved, or has it? I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to draw in this little bit. So demand increases, supply decreases. What happens? Well, I see that my price equilibrium increases. What can I exactly say? Can I say that my quantity has not shifted? Well, I'm not sure because this is not a perfect graph. So what we call it is that change in the quantity equilibrium cannot be determined. So copy that down. All right, guys. Well, this has been When Supply Meets Demand. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Get ready to do a whole bunch more graphing practice throughout the week.